At the same time, I am a Microsoft MVP for the developer technology from past uh, from 2014. So I'm leading consistently from Nepal for the .NET community as a developer evangelist. So I will go in school and colleges and do the monthly meetups, sometimes workshops, hackathons, etc. So I'm regularly involved in these categories for the technology kind of things. And then I would like to move on our topic and an agenda that we have, like for the we have a few terminology in always encrypted, like what is always encryption and what are the keys, what is secure enclave, and the demo. So basically I divided the things in 5 terms. So let's move one by one. The first thing that is what is encryption basically. So we are talking about the always encryption for the SQL Server column. So this is not time to define for what is encryption, but how the encryption works inside the SQL Server. We have to talk regarding that. So we have a different kind of encryption in SQL Server that is supported. The first one is transparent data encryption, that is on the database level, and this one will encrypt the data on the rest only. So when the data is in motion, the data is not encrypted. So if someone find our actual stored data somewhere, the files, they can look inside the data because the data is encrypted only in the rest when it is stored. And then we have a column level encryption, that is DBA can view the data who have a knowledge of key where key is stored, so they can see the data. And the another one is we have a dynamic data masking. So basically this is not an encryption, the data masking, but this is kind of things like when someone have a read permission only, they will see the data in SQL Server in terms of masking like something, and in the last or starting and the middle of the data with the some algorithm we can mask the data. So that is the something that we can do for the user who not have a right permission on the table or database. They can only view the data. So this one is the handy where you have a like a kind of a not very strict policy, and you want to prevent the data that is not viewable in the query window. But and again, when the data is stored, it is totally in plain text. So if someone find our data is stored location, they can easily watch everything. And the another one is that is always encrypted that we are going to talk today. So it's encrypted everywhere. Even DBA also not allowed to view the data until and unless they have a full permission on the controlling the things. So when the data is in motion, like traveling from the SQL Server to application layer, also that data is encrypted. It is only decrypted by the drivers, only decrypted by the someone who have a knowledge of keys. So that is the main point behind this always encrypted. So with that, let's little bit discuss more on always encrypted things. So feature that designed to protect sensitive data such as credit card numbers, national identification numbers, kind of data that is really matters. But while doing so, we need to have a latest version of SQL Server. So it's supported from 2016 with Service Pack 1. And nowadays that SQL Server, we have latest one 2022 that support many more things with Secure Enclave 2. But the beauty with that, we not have to change our code. That is the main fundamental behind this always encrypted. So if I have everything is working and I want to encrypt some column data, then I not have to change actually many things. So that is the main point. So only application driver can decrypt the data and no code change required. That is the main point. And then with that we have a algorithm to encrypt the data, and one is deterministic and another one is randomized. So deterministic kind of things like every time the encryption value is same. So if we have like a low number of data like options, let's say 4 or 5 data, so every time if it encrypts like 001, 001. So people can guess this is something like that. So at that time, it can like a possibilities people can find out what the data is. But at the same time, when we use deterministic, we can use our where clauses, indexes, etc. on that column. But at the same time, if we use the randomize will provide more security on the top of deterministic, but we lose few features like searchable kind of things. But those things are possible with the latest SQL Server with the help of enclave. So in our demo today, we are not going to use the enclave, but we will see how it works. Then with that, when using some features, we have to think and we have to like lose few features of SQL Server while doing the operation. So before applying the encryption, we be sure that these are the things not we need on those columns. Like if you are using the distributed query like on the link server, if you have a default constraints and you are using for the partitioning compute columns and you have a transaction kind of replication aggregation column identity property triggers, those are kind of things like if you are using on those columns, so please do not apply the always encrypted on those, because if you apply you're going to lose these features. Some where clauses are supported with the help of enclave, but if you regularly have to query, then you have also suffer for the performance point of view as well. With that, always encrypted uses basically keys. So one is the column encryption keys and one is the column master keys. Where column master keys are the keys that we use to encrypt the column encryption keys. And column encryption keys we can create per column the new key, or we can use the single key for multiple columns. It totally depends on us how we do. So these are the two things that we have to remember for the always encryption. One is column encryption keys we have to create. Another one is the column master keys. So master keys and these column keys are stored somewhere in secure location. In our demo, we will see where we are storing and how we can see. Even SQL Server also know the location. SQL Server don't have the key actually. So that guarantee the security point of things like if SQL Server also not have a key, so there is no way how DBA can open the data. But the top of DBA who have a master permission for everything, they obviously can change the things and can have a look. So if you are working, if your company are you working with the third parties and you have to allow them to for permission and you want to encrypt something at that time, this will be a very handy. Like you can stop them looking and browsing your data. So where do we store those keys? So we have an option like we can store in Windows certificate store, or we can store the keys like in a Azure Vault. So it totally depends on the organization. Let's say if you have access of cloud and your organization is totally in the cloud, then it's better to use the Azure Vault. Otherwise, you have an option for the Windows certificate. And it's very easy. We can just open our MMC. In our demo, I'll show where it is stored. But this is the area where we can go and we can see the what are the certificate uh, generated for the encryption. Those are the things we can found in this what to say in our certificate store. So we have a term called as a enclave. How it works basically. This is interesting point. So we have a database and we have a SQL client driver and we have a ciphertext, and this is the database engine. So enclave is the reserved area in memory where SQL Server by the help of SQL client driver, they will do the operation inside the one reserved area, and the final after the application of the search, the row IDs are provided to SQL Server to return the final result. So all the operation that will happen for the encrypted column inside the secure enclave, SQL Server enclave region only knows the data, encrypt the data, decrypt the data, and do the queries, and final result are passed to the application. So this is the main idea behind it. And in SQL Server 16.x or 2022, we can apply the join query group by clause also on the top of enclave. So with the help of, we have a more robust option while encryption. But yes, sometime you have to feel for the performance if it's like you applying the like randomized kind of algorithm. So everything comes with the pros and cons. So if you have a apply security, then you have to think like whether I really need or not, and how to operate on that. That is the part. And then if like this is the diagram given by the Microsoft in so many places. So I had taken this like .NET 4.6, but today I am showing the demo for the .NET 7.0. So if this is the query, and let's say we have applied the encryption and SSN. So this is something, the data we have. So after the query occur, master key is applied, and finally we'll get this result in our application. So this is the area where the things happen. This is untrusted zone, and this one is the something, and finally we get the result. So trusted application, trusted. So this is something that we do in our demo now. So let's move on the demo. So I want to create a fresh new application so that nothing is magical code kind of things. Let me create one project. So I am going to create a MVC application with .NET 7.0. So I will say Dhaka demo, and then I have to choose the .NET version. So I'm going to use, and for the I am going to use the entity framework. That is why I'm trying to load the NuGet packages. That is why I am selecting this one, but this one is not needed actually. But for the entity framework packages, I am selecting the individual account. And with that, I think I'm good to go. So this one will create a blank template with a few files that would actually not need in our software, but we have a very familiar part. With that, I want to create a one model so that I can do some database operation. So I actually want to create a class termed as a movie, and I want to add this model. After this, what I want to do, I want to create a few field that is something get and set. So I have a very simple class. With that, I want to go in my app setting and want to correct my connection string. So locally, I have a database that is running in my PC. The name of the server is this one. And I want to create a database name. Let's say Dhaka demo 31st. And then to run the SQL Server with the entity framework, I need to add one more thing in the connection string, that is for the SSL. So with that, I created the connection string. And remember, I do not have this database in my database. So I want to show you. This is my database. Currently, I not have that Dhaka demo database over here. So once connection string is done, now what I want to do, I want to go inside the controller, and I will add a controller. This time I want to use MVC controller by using entity framework. So I will say add, So the model that I want to use is the movie, and the DB context that was default generated for the account, I'm going to use that. So for the layout, I'm going to actually use the default layout. That is the all that I need. And the controller name is going to be movies controller. I will say add. So this will generate all the controller and views regarding this movie model. So I already given the connection string. After that, I have to apply the migration. And once the migration is done, we can see a sample data as well. So it will take just a few seconds to complete this scaffolding operation. I hope this one is not new for anyone who is watching us. But if someone is new, totally new, this is actually doing a scaffolding, like building a crude application in ASP.NET 7.0. So now with that, everything is ready. And once it's done, we can do the build just to assure that everything is okay. So everything is working perfectly. Now what I can do, I can go in NuGet Package Manager console. And with that, what I do basically, I will say add migration init. So this one will create the migration file. So once the migration is completed, we can update database so that it will create all the necessary thing for the application. Oh, sorry. Update database. What I'm missing. Just a second. Though we have a different way also, but I think I'm missing the command. Oh. So sorry, I missed the command. With that, this one will create the database inside our database. As it's completed, now we can go and in our database, if I will do the refresh, I can find the newly created database over here. So this one is our database that's just created. And there are few more tables that are the for ASP.NET identity. We are not interested for that, but this one is the table that is generated with our model. We can see we have a few columns in that. We have some columns that we created. And if we try to look what is inside the database currently, actually we have nothing. So this is the plain table generated with the help of this one. Now, if I go inside our movie controller and I want to open it, like I want to run. So what I have to do, let's check it first. It's working without always encryption. Then we apply the encryption also. So I'm going to launch this application first time. And as we know, we not have a option to navigate this controller. So what I will do, I will type the manually these movies, and with that we will get our this blank page, so we can create some data. So let's add a title something, and we apply. This is all generated by the, you can see, with entity framework. So movie code, and we have a something, and we have a price, let's say 100, and we'll say create. So when data is created, similarly we can create many data that we need. So with that, just let me generate a few data so that we can apply the encryption in like ready-made things. So I'm going to just create a two data. So it's working perfectly. And if we go inside our database, we can see we have two records inside our database, and everything is plain for now. Now we decided to apply the always encryption, let's say, on this column. So how can we apply? It's very simple. Just to the right click on the column table that we want to apply the encryption, and we have a encrypt columns option. So once we click on that, a wizard will be launched, and few explanation is there, like you can apply on the examples like a credit card number, etc. So with that, we'll say next, and we want to apply encryption, let's say, on this column, and we want to choose the deterministic algorithm. So this one is the column encryption key, and this is the first time we are going to apply. So it will ask where you want to store your certificate. So we have a two option. One is for Azure. If you have a Azure, you want to store in Azure, just supply the credential. The rest will be done by this one for the Azure. Or if you want to store in Windows certificate, we can do that. Uh, for my demo, I'm using everything in the single machine. But if you are using multiple machine for the multiple servers in server farm miners, then you can generate this key actually, and this one will provide to generate an option for the PowerShell script you can run in multiple servers so that everyone share the same certificate. But for now, as I have a single machine for everything, so I'm going to just finish it. After that, we have like the details. These are the things where we are going to store. And after doing the finish, actually what it does, it will create the encryption on everything. And after this, if we try to select the data, we will get the encrypted values. And this one is really a good thing. Like everything is done, and then without code modification, we can apply this, and that is the beauty. So after this, if you select the data in SQL Server, we can see our column is encrypted. This is great. But now what happened for our application? If I will go over here and try to load the data, it will not work. It says I'm not able to understand. So we not have to change many things, just we have to change single line in our connection string, and that is more than enough. So what we have to add, just we have to inform our application so that our ADO.NET driver understand it, and that is column encryption setting enabled. This is the point that we have to add. Like this one is the column encryption setting equals enabled. This is the only thing that we have to add, and I am going to apply with hot reload. Hope it works. If not work, then we'll restart our application. I have to restart. Okay, because our everything is need to be reloaded as we are using the entity framework. So if I try to open now this URL, we can see this time our application can load the data, and the value is in plain text. What about this form? Will it works? Let's see. Definitely it also going to work because our driver have to do the job, not our code have to do anything. So this one is also doing. What about the data in motion? If we see in our SQL Server, everything is okay. Our application can decrypt the data and we can see everything is encrypted. But what about if we try SQL profiler? So let's see within that what happening. And remember one thing, this always encrypted only works on the parameterized query. If you are writing hard query, you not have a parameterized value, then your driver cannot do the things. That is the also point to be noted. And we want to connect with the SQL profiler. And let's have some event selection. So I do not need these. I can say run. So as we have nothing for now, if I try to just let me create something. So till now we not have anything, I think, in profile area, right? Once I will create a data, then only it will fire something over there. So let me do some add. This time once we pass the data, we can see our data in the profiler. Here you can see how the value is coming. Other things are like they are in plain text, but this value is coming in the form of encrypted value. So data in motion is also encrypted. That's perfect. And we are easily able to view the data in encrypted form in our SQL Server too. Now, if you want to see where our certificate is stored, so in the run, if we go and we'll say MMC, and in the MMC, if we go inside the file, so this is the certificate that I want to see, and I will say finish. I will say okay. I can see all the certificates that are generated for my SQL Server. So with the date and time, you can see this one is the something that we just generated for our tables. So this is something that is stored in our stored certificate. If you want to store inside the Azure Key Vault, that is also perfect, and that one is more secure than this one because that is stored somewhere in cloud, and that is okay. Now, let's say I want to apply one more encryption for my price column also. So it's again simple, just select the column, choose the algorithm, what you want. So we want this one, and you can create either new key one or use the existing one. I want to go with the existing one. So I will say next, and this time again, I do not need a script card because everything is I'm using for the single machine. So this time, if I add one more column, then hope I not have to change anything in my application because I already had done the change for my connection string and everything is working fine. So I'm going to encrypt the price column as well. And it's done now. If I will try to select in SQL Server, it's encrypted. And if I will try in my application, this one not have to do anything. It's working perfectly. We can do a edit operation as per our need. So it works perfectly. No change required. We applied the encryption and we added one more column in the encryption. And if I do not need now, let's say there is no need. So if I want to remove this encryption, that process is also easy. What I have to do, just I have to remove this one. So I want to go with the plain text. I not need this one. So it's very easy, but this is not what we do in production. Actually, just I'm showing you, because in the production we not apply anything, something just for the testing. Well decided, well planned, and then only we do the things. But this process is also very simple. And with the enclave also, we not have to do much thing. Once the configuration of enclave is done, the rest process is the same that we are doing. And again, we have a plain things running. And in our application, if we try to see what is happening, we can see now in application side, we not have to change anything after reviewing, because though we not have encryption, our connection string just if it finds some data with encryption, then they will apply for those keys, and if it's not exist, then it's perfect for them. So this is how we apply encryption in our SQL Server columns, with the always encrypted with the help of column key and column master keys. And if you want to see like where these things are stored in SQL Server, how SQL Server knows about them, so that part is also easy. Just what we can do, we have a schema. So what I can do, just I have to select everything from this schema, and this one will show like how he going to use, like say you only know the path where the certificate is stored. So if someone sending the data, just SQL Server use this key and do the encryption and decryption, etc. So only the DBA knows this path if they try to check what is done. So this is something that we can do the query inside the SQL Server and to know the things where it is stored. And for others, like we had talked about uh, transparent data is encryption, etc. So those cannot be applied for this temp DB, master DB, etc. So once that is applied, the things automatically happen. For this, we not have to apply for anything for this master DB, temp DB, etc. So that point is also need to be taken care. Uh, with that, my demo is also done.